you've worked with the information from the results book, try adding the 7-day mental diet to your recipe for health. The 7-day mental diet. For 7 consecutive days, do not say or think anything negative. This means if you go off the diet, you have to start over. Now, don't throw your hands up and quit here. This is possible. Just remember that whatever is not working in your life is directly connected to what you're thinking. First the thought, then the experience, not the other way around. If you still disagree with this concept, ask yourself this question. Based on results, are my beliefs generating a happy, harmonious, and fulfilling life? Not saying anything negative is one thing. Not thinking negatively is another. The truth is you can't help a negative thought that occurs to you. It's whether or not you continue to think the negative thought. Here's one method for consciously releasing negativity. Say to yourself, this is none of my business. Now, you may be convinced this problem is your business, but look at it this way. If there's nothing you can do about it in this moment, it's none of your business. It doesn't matter whether it's your bills, your job, a close relationship, or the lack of one. If you can pay that bill, pay it. If not, say to yourself, this is none of my business. Which really is the same as saying, it's okay. Or as the Bible says, I can of myself do nothing. And when you let go, realizing that you can do nothing, your mind stops focusing on the problem and begins seeing answers. It doesn't matter if there are problems in your community or if you're concerned about the environment or world peace. The same principle works. If you can do something about it in this moment, do it. If not, it's none of my business. If you're feeling angry or stressed or feel pressured, say to yourself, I am willing to release this feeling of anger, resentment, fear, etc., and I'm willing to be at peace. Willing is the operative word. If you think about a time when you were angry or depressed, I can absolutely guarantee that you were never willing to release the feeling. The reason I can say this with total conviction is that I know from experience that you cannot be willing to heal or release a problem without the accompanying results. You may ask, if it's really this simple, why do people go on in pain and misery and suffering? The answer is simple. Their personal identity or ego is tied into the problem. A Course in Miracles says, do you prefer to be right or happy? If you are suffering, I can assure you that you either share your suffering with others or you have an ongoing conversation in your mind where you discuss how good you are and how the other person is wrong and has treated you badly. Even feeling guilty and seeing yourself as wrong is still the need to be right. Guilt is as much a choice as happiness. And if all of your problems truly are okay, as Wally Minto says in the Results book, then isn't it okay to let go of guilt and choose happiness? Dr. Chuck Spezzano says, your personality has been putting together your life story for years. Typically, it is filled with painful and heroic episodes all neatly tied together to prove what a good person you are. Our life stories are largely composites of victim and martyr stories. Suffering is a veiled form of attack, and so this is a way of feigning innocence while attacking. Notice that in order to suffer or be a victim, you're automatically creating a story in which you are right and someone else is wrong. You are innocent and they're not. If you truly desire to have a harmonious, loving, joyful life, you must give up forever telling your victim story, whether it's from a long time ago or something recent. If you think you couldn't possibly give that one up, or that your friends really want you to share your latest drama, let me tell you something I came to realize about our victim-martyr stories. A few years ago, I was invited by Ram Dass to attend one of his workshops. I had missed the original instructions given by Ram Dass, but I was told that each person in the group was to talk for 5 minutes and the rest of us were to listen without comment or expression. I was the 7th person out of 8, and I noticed that every single person was telling a victim story. So I thought that the point of the exercise was to tell your very best victim story. It wasn't until years later that I heard Ram Dass explaining this exercise on a tape, and I discovered that it was an exercise on listening. In any case, I had this amazing realization. While listening to each person tell their story, what do you think I was thinking about? Did I care about everyone's drama? No. I was waiting my turn. I was thinking about how I could make my story even better and more heart-wrenching than anyone before me. And then it dawned on me, if I didn't care about anyone else's story, obviously nobody cared about my story except me. And when you listen to someone tell their victim story, you are either waiting your turn or you're looking for approval. Dr. Spezzano goes on to say this. In general, we are all called to change the victim tragic horror and heartbreak stories into healing, happy, and love stories. Obviously, forgiveness is a key ingredient in telling a happy, healing story. But how do you forgive? You may say you've forgiven. You may even think you've forgiven. But what if you don't feel forgiveness in your heart? What if you're carrying around anger and resentment? How do you let go and truly forgive? I was searching for an answer to those questions. I knew I wanted to forgive, but I didn't know how until I read A Course in Miracles, which said something to this effect. God knows that you don't know how to forgive. Be willing to forgive, and God will take care of the rest. What an incredible relief it was to know that God knew I didn't know how to forgive, and willingness was all that was required to align myself with divine intervention. Then it occurred to me, if God knew I didn't know how to forgive, God also knew I didn't know how to let go, and certainly the same concept would apply. Suddenly I had a new way to pray. My prayers began with, I am willing. I am willing to forgive. I am willing to hear love's voice in this matter. I am willing to release my anger or resentment or whatever it may be that's causing this upset. A Course in Miracles says, as forgiveness allows love to return to my awareness, I will see a world of peace and safety and joy. Now let's get back to the 7-day mental diet. Remember, you cannot say or think anything negative. This not only involves your thoughts when you're alone, it includes listening to anything negative, whether it's the news or someone gossiping or someone complaining about all that's wrong in their life. This is a challenging aspect because you must stand your ground, even when it would be much easier to just listen. The problem is that if you listen to negativity, you are essentially agreeing with the so-called reality of lack and limitation, and this is one of those unbreakable cosmic laws. You must continue attracting that reality to you. That is the law. Whatever you say is so. Whatever you agree with, based on thought, word, and deed, is what you must experience. If you doubt that statement, look at the results in your life. Keeping in mind that worry and fear are the strongest forms of belief, is there anything you believe in which you do not experience? When I first tried the 7-day mental diet, one negative thought after the next presented itself, but I stuck with it. And not only did the negative thoughts begin to come less and less, there actually came a time when I didn't have to remind myself to let go or be at peace. I simply felt the perfection in everything that was happening without a second thought. The feeling of perfection, of God's presence in every person, everything, and every event will become second nature. You may wonder what you can expect from working with this audio program for 60 days. From my own experience and from that of others, you may experience anything from discomfort to major upheaval. But it's necessary if you're going to dislodge the old patterns in consciousness. In the book, You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay, it says, If you can feel it, you can heal it. Therefore, old negative beliefs that have been buried in consciousness but are experienced as painful episodes in your life must surface as your feelings in order to be recognized and released. This is why you don't want to project your feelings onto another, as in, he makes me feel angry. These are your feelings. Look at them. Allow your feelings to be your friends.